Okay, we're just trying to basically use the software to look up a GCE-3 that's emulating an A14. And you can see on the screen it realizes an A14, 50 patches, and now it takes a few times to get going, so every so often you need to restart it. And what it did was it looked through and said, hey man, I found the 50 patches. First of all, it pulled out all the FX, and there's at least 170 there. Then it made an index into it, bought the patches, and then it rendered the patches using a combination of Manjul stuff and some changes to it. So now when we click on here, we can see that, make that slightly taller, we can see that we've got a D28 op comp, a double slot bone EQ, and then a single slot plate. And I can just use the cursor keys to move down, and you see it's changing the values in front of me in the parameters. I think it's by default parameter 1. Well, no, the feedback must be the analog delay, mustn't it? It must be the last parameter that it sees, yeah. So it's going through and seeing it. And what I'm not doing, and I need to do, I'm not currently writing it out back into the JSON. So if we make changes and move back, you'll get back to where you were. But you see, off it goes. And now what I've done is I've added a little drop down to the FX group, because let's take modulation. There's an awful lot of modulation on A1. And now when you click one inside it, you see it's the 23rd in the list, but the 91th, if there is such a thing, in the list of values. And if I click there, it should add it in. And you see now it's put some default values. So these will be the default values, because this didn't exist in the patch before. So I have no choice but to use the default values, which is effectively what I think the zoom is doing. If we take a tremolo, for example, we stick that there, it now has put in the default values. And I need to look on I guess I should check on the Zoom Guitar Lab what it's doing, yeah. And if we choose another group, I don't know, a filter, let's put a cry on. Everyone likes a good cry every so often. Stick that there. There it is. So that's what's going on there. And I think if we click off it, the pedal doesn't understand what we've done, and yet internally the electronics has changed. So I need to save the state, but I'll do that later. That's not damn. It is important, but it's not immediately a problem for me, at least. It's just to demonstrate what we're doing. So if we click on one of these here and we click on the violin dist, then it gives us a list of values, and now we can move here and we can change those values back and forth. And these are the MIDI values, which are not necessarily the same as the values that you'll see on the screen, but there is no screen to see here unless you use Zoom. So to me it's good enough at the moment, yeah, although we can get the values, but more on that later. So if let's just remember that one. Well, let's do it all to minimum, yeah, make them all to minimum just for the second. And if we then click on here, it changes back to those values, and it should go back to the minimum, and there we are, yeah. Now if we make the top 3 the maximum, and we move off there and we come back, then it's remembered it. But as soon as we move off and come back onto it, it's forgotten that state, yeah. So this is something that I need to work on, but again, it's not a big deal. So it means that we can move along quite flexibly and change parameters and look at stuff. We can change FX, although at the moment, this one, for example, it shows you the VN dist, because it's got more than 4 parameters, is a 2 slot. And I try and indicate this with the red. You're within your rights to try and stick something there. It doesn't make sense, but you can try and do it. And that's what I need to work on. So again, we give the patch, although I don't know why it doesn't put it to the left at the minute, and we give the description. I can get the descriptions of the FX, but because these are lists of items, I can't make a hover button for it. But again, the aim of this software is to make it easier for me to use at a touch screen, but it's not to be production quality. It's just for me to play with, and you may like to use it too, freely available. But my hope is that someone will know Gadwin from ToneLib fame, who will say, okay man, let me get in contact, because it's all on the internet should you want to find it, and hopefully you'll get in contact and make a change for everyone to use, because this software is much better than mine. So that's where we're at a minute with it. We can load up a pedal, we can begin to see the parameters now, we can set the parameters, it knows about the max and min. As we load new parameters in, take that one for example, let's go and find a different compression. Was it a dynamics, isn't it? That's a rack comp. Let's put an op comp into there. So we'll click there and it's changed it, and now we have a different set of parameters. Yeah. But now the pedal will remember this, and if you were to quit and go through the process of loading the software, then it would know that the value is 6, 22, 23, 27 on its op comp. But I just need to put it back into the JSON. I need my dinner at a minute. I'm hungry, so I'll do it later on in the week. But okay, thank you for watching, and bye-bye.